Hey everybody, it's GobletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'll be playing another Premier Draft of Innistrad Midnight Hunt. Without further ado, let's get into the draft. We've got a super sweet pack one pick one here. Got a great rare for blue-black. This is the Champion of the Perished. Whenever another zombie enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it. There are tons of zombies in blue and black, as well as the main token producing mechanic in the format, where you can produce decayed zombie tokens off cards like Falcon Abomination. With cards like that, you can get a ton of triggers off of the Champion of the Perished really early, so I think Champion of the Perished is a pretty great place to start. There's also Falcon Abomination, Flip the Switch, and Ecstatic Awakener, all three of which are incredibly high picks and premium commons for the blue-black archetype. Premium commons in their respective colors just in the first place, and there's also an excellent removal spell in white, the Borrowed Time, so really nice pack to open up. But I'm going to roll with the Champion of the Perished here and see if I can't be a zombie deck today. Alright, pack 1, pick 2. We don't have a perfect follow-up to Champion of the Perished. We could take Crawl from the Cellar or Dreadhound in black. These would be decent cards to go into the deck with the Champion of the Perished, and then there's a Revenge of the Drowned, which is also quite solid for the blue-black deck. That being said, I'm a very big fan of Borrowed Time and Gavany Dawnguard, so it might be worth it to head in the white direction instead of the blue-black direction here. But I don't think they're significantly stronger than these cards. I think the best picks are probably Dreadhound, Revenge of the Drowned, Borrowed Time, and Dawnguard, all those even. Crawl from the Cellar right behind them. Really strong stuff here. I guess for now, it's early enough in the draft I can hold on to my rare for now. But I don't want to get completely glued to my main colors, but Dreadhound and Revenge of the Drowned, still pretty strong cards for the archetype. I think Revenge of the Drowned, a little better, making that Decayed Zombie. It's a little bit cheaper as well. Dreadhound is a good finisher, but Revenge of the Drowned is better filler earlier in the curve, better interaction, the kind of card you're going to need a lot more copies of. And I might just take another copy here. It's a pretty great card. This time there's a Search Party Captain in white, which is also quite good. Vengeful Strangler in black is fine. I think those are the best three cards in the pack. We'll just stick to blue-black zombies with Revenge of the Drowned. But it is looking like there was a powerful white card in all three of our first packs. Again, early enough in the draft, that's not really a signal that white is super open. It's just, in hindsight, if we took a bunch of white cards, we could just have three great white cards and start in that direction instead. This is by no means a bad start to a deck, though. Alright, pack 1, pick 4, we get a Flip the Switch now. Very efficient little counter spell, gives us a Decayed Zombie when we cast it as well, which is excellent. Flip the Switch, quite a solid card. For other cards here, Gavany Trapper is also quite good. It's probably Flip the Switch, Gavany Trapper, and then the gold uncommons here, the Signpost uncommons, are both pretty equally powerful, but also pretty equally narrow. So Trapper and Flip the Switch, the solid cards there. We'll take the Flip the Switch. And our Revenge of the Drowns, our instant speed spells of any kind, get a lot better the more that we have. So if we have counter spells and instant speed interaction, and if we're super lucky, some instant speed creatures or something, that's just going to help all of the other varieties of instants just get better and better because we have more options of what to do during our opponent's turn. It's going to be a super easy pack 1, pick 5. Diagraph Horde is one of the best black commons, if not the best black common. 5 mana for a 3/4 and 2/2 Decayed Zombies, and you can exile up to 2 cards from graves. So it works well against flashback cards, which are spells you can recast from grave. Works well against Disturb cards, which are creatures you can recast from grave. And it puts 7 power on the board, 4 of which is on those Decayed Zombies that die the second they attack, but that is still a lot of stuff on the board, and really good with Champion of the Perished. That's 3 zombies hitting the board off of 1 card. Now we have Hobbling Zombie to go for our blue-black zombies deck still. We could absolutely be a white deck here. It could be like black-white or something with all these Search Party Captains. But Hobbling Zombie is a super reasonable pick there. And we'll see if we can keep the zombie train rolling. Pack 1, pick 7, we can certainly keep the zombie train rolling. Startle is a great, cheap way to get a Decayed Zombie token onto the board. It draws a card when you cast it as well. Super good combat trick. coming with that decayed zombie. Big fan of the startle. It's also another instant which gives us more things to do when we're holding up counter spells. Pack 1, pick 8 now. I think Bat Whisperer is pretty reasonable. It's not a zombie, so it's not with the creature types that we're running here, but it's pretty decent value. 2 creatures off of 1 card, one of which is flying. We do need to hit our opponent for this to work well, but often you can get a nice little attack in with a decayed zombie, and they're just never going to block there, so Bat Whisperer is fine here. Geist Wave is also fine. We already have double Revenge of the Drowned, and the utility of bouncing your own card isn't that powerful. So we'll take the Bat Whisperer. Nothing I'd be super happy to play in anything here. I think the strongest card is Cathar Commando for white-based aggro stuff, although Festival Crasher's fine in red. I'll just take a Mystic Skull and add to my vault progress with an uncommon. Alright, we can take a Silverbolt in case we don't get enough removal. This is fine filler removal. 3 damage to any target creature. And if our opponent is on werewolves, then it just straight up destroys any werewolf, which is nice. Blade Brand's also just okay, because we can always send in those decayed zombies for a little bit of damage, and if our opponent ever blocks, even with a giant creature, we could just Blade Brand to find a kill, which is cool. It's definitely nowhere near as good as targeted removal, but if we can't pick up a lot of solid removal, we can make up for it with random tricks and cheap removal spells like Silverbolt and Blade Brand, so happy to see that. This pack is really bad for us. Wow, we're not going to play a more Crypt Behemoth, and we're probably not going to play a Shipwreck Sifters, just because the Behemoth is super expensive and kind of dirtily. Plays really bad against single target removal, and the Shipwreck Sifters is really for the blue-white deck where it really pops off. So this is just not a pack we wanted to open up. The blue and black cards here are not great. I mean, Shipwreck Sifters is very good, but it's basically a blue-white gold card. Not the direction we're going. Guess I'll just rare draft a Slogurk, but feels unlikely we play that. Alright, now here's a card we'll definitely play. Grafted Identity is excellent in any blue deck that can produce decayed zombies, which is definitely this deck. We already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different cards that can make a decayed zombie. So this is 4 mana, sacrifice a creature, gain control of any creature, and give it +1/+1. So it's a removal spell and kind of a bomb all in one, because you're removing their biggest threat and using it against them. So huge 2-for-1. Incredible card. Scoop up a Grafted Identity. Alright, we'll take the only good on-color card here, which is Overwhelmed Archivist. 3 mana, 3/2, draw a card, discard a card when it hits the board is fine. What really makes this good, though, is that it can disturb to come back from the graveyard later for extra value. Another pretty weak pack. Devious Cover-Up would be okay. Silverbolt would be pretty narrow, but outside of that, I don't like the red or green cards pretty much at all. The white card's pretty filler. Super weak pack for everybody there. Alright, pack 2, pick 4. Baithook Angler is a great one. 2 mana for a 2/1, trade it off into any 2 toughness creature your opponent's attacking you with, and then again get some more disturbed value, recasting the Hook Haunt Drifter from Grave. It isn't a zombie to go with Champion of the Parish, but it's still great 2-for-1 value, the best card in the pack for us. Yeah, Blood Thief can keep making itself bigger over time, slowly but surely. Interloper's fine if you're super aggressive, and Amalgam is just super slow. These can all be okay in their own positions, but Angler is by far the best in a vacuum, the best upfront for its mana cost. I do like Crawl from the Cellar if I'm a zombie deck, as pretty good late game value, graveyard recursion stuff. It's going to bring 2 creatures from your graveyard back to your hand over time with that flashback, and you're going to get a +1/+1 counter on one of your zombies each time you cast it as well, potentially. I don't like Heirloom Mirror. I think it plays way too slow. You have to invest so much mana, time, discard, and life into this thing, and then by the time it flips, they will have seen it coming for tons of turns, so they can prepare accordingly, holding a removal spell for it. Another Startle versus a Larder Zombie. I do like having 1 Larder Zombie in all of my blue-black zombies decks. I don't know what happened with my curve here. Oh dear. But I feel like they go really late. So like if anybody opens up a Larder Zombie in pack 3, I can probably pick one up. And I don't really like having multiple larger zombies, because if I get 2 of them on board at once, that's super redundant. Whereas Startle is a card I'm happy to run 1,000,000 copies of, so I think I'm going to take another Startle over the larder zombie, weirdly enough. Alright, and this isn't exactly a larder zombie, but it's another one of these cards that gives us a massive benefit from tapping 3 untapped creatures. This one is even better than the larder zombie. We can try to control the board state with this later on. If we get enough creatures on board, then we can start tapping down all of their best attackers whenever they go to combat, maybe even cracking back with a few. Scab Wrangler, a beautiful card for the blue-black zombie-producing archetype. A lot of nonsense here. I'll take the random card draw spell, but I'm going to start that off in the sideboard. We did wheel the Shipwreck Sifters, which is a pretty good sign for blue as a color, and we have made it to where at this point we actually do have 2 Disturb cards, Overwhelmed Archivist and Baithook Angler, that could work with it, so it might end up making the cut in the end. I will definitely take this Flip the Switch that we wheeled. Excellent counterspell. We get a lot of value from those Decayed Zombies. We sack them to the Grafted Identity, or just let them get the Enter the Battlefield triggers for Champion of the Perished. Tap them for Scab Wranglers. Pretty happy with that. Devious Cover-Up's a fine counterspell, but Flip the Switch is so good, and you don't have room for like running 6 counterspells in one deck, so I tend to not really take Devious Cover-Ups because I usually just run Flip the Switches over them for the counterspells I want in my decks. Secrets of the Key is actually fine. Not great, but it can be in the main deck for now. Alright, pack 3, we've got a Siege Zombie, which I would love as another card to tap all our Decayed Zombies to ping our opponent. Fading Hope is great cheap interaction, but then there's also Organ Hoarder, which is a very good value play. It's the best common in the format, best common in a long time in a lot of different formats. I think I'm going to scoop up another 4-drop here and take Organ Hoarder. This thing is just absurd. 4 mana for a 3/2, and you draw the best card out of your top 3. Not only that, but the other cards don't go to the bottom of your library, they go into your graveyard. So you could maybe mill some Disturb cards and draw a card off the Organ Hoarder, in which case sometimes it feels like a 3-for-1, which is nuts. So we'll take the Organ Hoarder there. Incredible card. Speaking of incredible cards, we have a Scab Wrangler and a Blade Stitch Scab. I'm going to go for the Blade Stitch Scab here since I already have one Scab Wrangler, and we got the other one really early, so we might even wheel the second copy of Scab Wrangler. But these are both incredible. We're super happy to get past these here. I'll take the Blade Stitch Scab, go with our Champion of the Perished, all our Decayed Zombies, all that stuff. Buff the board state, get extra damage in. Card is great. Alright, pack 3, pick 3. Falcon Abomination is one of the strongest turn 3 follow-ups to a turn 2 Blade Stitch Scab, and it also works incredibly with our Champion of the Perished. This is awkward here, though, because I feel like our removal isn't great, but I think I can rely on double Revenge of the Drowned, Grafted Identity mostly, and then flip the switches for counters. I'd love to take more removal, but I have so many non-creature cards that even if they're a lot worse than this Eaten Alive, which would be premium removal, I think I want more cards that help me end the game, and Falcon Abomination does that incredibly at 3 mana. It's also competing with a second Diregraph Horde, which would be beautiful at 5, but again, I think the flying's really good, and this card is just so good with Blade Stitch Scab and Champion of the Parish curved out early, and I'm going to take the Abomination over the Diregraph Horde there. Good lord, yeah, all of our great cards are clumping up in this final pack. Because now we have Organ Hoarder competing with a third Flip the Switch or a first Ecstatic Awakener. This Awakener would be very happy to see all these zombies that we have, but I think I take a second Organ Hoarder. Okay, and now it's all unclumped and this pack is garbage. Lovely. You hate to see it. If we could just have those last 2 packs spread out amongst the next 4, instead of chunked together like that all in one, we would be in a much better spot here. I think I'm cutting these Silver Bolts, as I was saying, and relying on 2 counterspells, 2 Revenge of the Drowns, and Grafted Identity for interaction mostly. I think the next card I'd like to cut would be Blade Brand, ideally, and like Drown Yard Amalgam type stuff. Yeah, I'm going to keep passing up on the good removal to take more ways to really pressure our opponent, try to end the game. Take another Falcon Abomination here. Nebelgast Intruder is great too. Why? If I could have had Defenestrate last pack, it would have been so easy to take, but I'm going to take a Falcon Abomination. Also, Nebelgast Herald. That or the Defenestrate would have been excellent to see last pack. Siege Zombies, beautiful to see this pick, this pack. Secrets of the Keys also pretty bad. These 3 cards are the cards I'm likely cutting. Shipwreck Sifters might be the next one on the chopping block after all this. Considers fine. I don't know if I have room in my non-creatures, though. Well, I can cut those 3 now. So this is 23 cards, 17 lands. Yeah, I'm going to put Sifters in the maybe pile. We find any other goodies? We did find goodies. We've got Cheap Interaction or the Cheap Creature. I'm going to take another Siege Zombie. Up that zombie count with Champion of the Perished. Blade Stitch Scab. Alright, nothing here. Yeah, I'll cut the Shipwreck Sifters, I think. What is our creature count? 14? Tiny bit low, but a lot of Decayed Zombie production. Well, that's super weird. I'll take an Eaten Alive over a Siege Zombie. I was going to say that I feel like blue and black were relatively contested in this draft pod, but they're deep enough colors that we still got a very powerful deck. And we just drafted different cards more highly than removal, and the other blue and black players were just scooping up all the removal type stuff. And then we got a pick 11 Eaten Alive. So maybe this was just a draft pod where there weren't a lot of black removal spells opened. We saw them in pack 3 for sure, but we passed up on them in pack 3 as well, so I don't know. I think I'm just going to cut Consider for the Eaten Alive, call it a deck there. It's nice and simple. Gets us all the way there. Yeah. Seems strong to me. Blue-black zombies, aggressive curve, great interaction now that we have an Eaten Alive to go with our temporary interaction and counter spells. Yeah, looks like a powerful deck. Alright, here's a look at our deck list for today. It's going to be a very sweet looking blue-black zombies deck. We've got Champion of the Perished started on turn 1. That was our pick 1, pack 1, so we've drafted a ton of zombies to go with it. This thing can get really big really fast, especially with some of these cards that produce decayed zombies, like Falcon Abominations. That's 2 zombies entering the battlefield off of the 1 spell. Diagraph Horde is 3 zombies off 1 spell. So if we get either of those going with a Champion of the Perished on the board, this thing gets massive super quickly. But we also have a good curve of other creatures like Bait Hook Angler for disturb value, Scab Wrangler to be able to tap stuff down with all our decayed zombies. And then, of course, we've got zombies on curve like Double Siege Zombie, Blade Stitch Scab also buffing all our zombies. 3 mana, we've got 2 Falcon Abominations and Hobbling Zombie for zombies and decayed zombie production. And then 1 Overwhelmed Archivist for more disturb value. At 4 mana, we have 2 Organ Hoarders, which are incredible value plays that are also zombies. And a Bat Whisper for more token production. And the top of the curve is that Diagraph Horde. So tons of zombies throughout the curve, tons of decayed zombie tokens as well that we can use for value. Couple ways to use those pretty well. Of course, we have the Scab Wrangler that we were talking about. If we have a bunch of those sitting around, we can start using them to tap down creatures. With the Siege Zombies, we can use them to ping our opponent for some damage. With Grafted Identity, we can sacrifice one of them to just straight up steal our opponent's best creature. And with Eaten Alive, we can sacrifice one of them to cast this for only 1 mana instead of 5 mana. So great uses for the decayed zombies and a great aggressive zombie curve in general. For our non-creature spells, again, 2 excellent removal spells with Grafted Identity and Eaten Alive, killing whatever we need. Eaten Alive exiles it, Grafted Identity steals it. Temporary removal with 2 Revenge of the Drowned. 2 counter spells with 2 Flip the Switch. And 2 Startles for combat tricks. Outside of all that, there's Crawl from the Cellar for late game value. Recurring our best cards from our graveyard and dropping them right back onto the board, ready to beat down. Looks like pretty solid stuff throughout the curve, pretty solid stuff for all points of the game. A very solid, very standard blue-black deck for the format. We will see how the zombies play out for us as we head into the gameplay. Alright, here we are for game 1, and we have our dream turn 1 play. We don't actually have that many zombies to follow it up with, but there's 2 decayed ones with Startle and Revenge of the Drowned. But that's turn 1 Champion of the Perished. I'm gonna keep the hand. We'll see where it goes from here. Our opponent starts with an island into a larder zombie. There's a siege zombie. Okay. That is going to make Champion of the Parish 2-2 immediately. 1 Startle and it's a 3-3. Blue-black zombie mirror match it is. There's a ghoulish procession from them, so when their creatures die, when one or more creatures die, they get a 2-2 decayed zombie, but they only get 1 per turn. I'm going to have to startle this turn to draw a card and just hit a land, hopefully. Alright, no land for us. It's a bit rough, but we've got quite the aggressive board state. So the startle there wasn't actually like giving us any value from removing power from Larder Zombie, but most importantly, we just need to cycle into a 3rd land. We have still not found land 3, and things are going to get a bit sketchy now. Just send in again. Do what we can. I guess I'm playing a bait hook angler this turn. I'm getting damage in there. We'll see what they've got in store for us here. Fading Hope put the Champion of the Perished back into our hand. That's kind of sad. They also get to scry 1 because that costs 3 or less. I don't actually have a 3-mana zombie to play, so I'm going to play the Bait Hook Angler. If I replay Champion of the Perished, I'm not actually putting any zombies on board for it next turn anyway. Rotten Reunion. Exile a card from a grave, get a 2-2 decayed zombie. There's an Organ Hoarder, the mythic rare common. We've got one as well, but only half the mana we need for it. We have found land number 3, which means that we can use the Overwhelmed Archivist to draw a card and discard a card, hoping to hit land number 4. At least helping get closer to it no matter what. I think that is the play. This would have been the one reason to maybe not play the Bait Hook Anglers. If I do top deck the 3rd land immediately, I can draw discard the Bait Hook Angler, which I can't do if the Bait Hook Angler is not in hand. This is fine, though. I can discard the Revenge of the Drowned. Okay. We're not under any pressure, so I think we're still in the lead here, because we've got more cards to play with than them. They have 3 cards left, we've got 4 left. They've got the flashback of the Rotten Reunion, and they can set up their draws with Larder Zombie, so it's pretty close. Which is why it was a pretty big bummer to miss those lands. It wasn't that we were getting into a losing position, it's that we went from a position where we were just definitely winning the game into the game balancing out quite a bit here. And it is anyone's game. Depends on how things progress from here. They've dropped an Heirloom Mirror, which is going to take them 3 turns to flip, right? And they have to pay a life and a mana and discard a card, draw a card every turn to do this. If it has 3 or more, remove them and transform it. And when it transforms, it's still tapped. It's kind of like 4 turns until that attacks. Or blocks even. And it's sorcery speed instead of instant speed. Oop, gotta make sure I don't forget my siege zombie. Cool, alright. I'm gonna miss out on 1 counter on Champion of the Parish to play an Organ Hoarder here, but I think it's worth it, because there's nothing to steal with Grafted Identity that's worth stealing. Nothing worth bouncing with Revenge of the Perished. Revenge of the Drowned. Wow, I am mixing up all my card names today. Good grief. Draw a Falcon Abomination. Flip the switch is tempting. I think I just draw a Falcon Abomination. And then I just play Champion of the Perished Falcon Abomination next turn. That gives me multiple creatures to use Siege Zombie with. And the Champion's gonna just immediately be a 3-3. We just play Champion, then Abomination, boom. That's a 1-mana 3-3. Feels pretty great. Oh, you know what I didn't realize that I am realizing now? It's actually super fine that we did not keep Bait Hook Angler in hand to discard, because they have the Rotten Reunion anyway. They could just exile it from our grave. Would soak up some of their mana. But yeah, I guess they get to use the Rotten Reunion on our Archivist instead now. But we still work towards clearing a path for our other creatures to beat down, which I think is worth it. Because I'm not going to want to reanimate this Overwhelmed Archivist for a long time anyway, because I have better things to do with my mana. Like Champion of the Perished Falcon Abomination, then Grafted Identity, then Revenge of the Drowned. So I think it's pretty alright to get them to spend a couple mana on the Archivist. Alright, consider they're going to Surveil 1 and draw a card. Ooh, I love how they've got one fancy zombie from whatever fancy card they had. The Rotten Reunion, and one non-fancy zombie. That's hilarious. I wish they put the Walking Dead walkers on Arena. I know that's contentious. A lot of people would like if they didn't do that, but there is an actual button to turn off those card styles. You can make it so you never have to see Godzilla on Arena with hide alternate art styles. So I wish they added the walker zombie artwork. Those are 2/2 zombies that don't have Decayed though, so they wouldn't even show up in this format anyway. But I like that you get all the classic zombies from The Walking Dead. Alright, discarding some more cards, milling some more cards for the Heirloom Mirror, and they're just going to get a Decayed Zombie. Stop our reanimation there. And they've got one blocker and it's a 1/3. So we get some damage in here. Alright, they get some damage in as well. Poke me for 2. Okay, good. Ghoulish Possession is only off of non-token creatures. So they can't just loop Decayed Zombies together. Crawl from the Cellar. That's a nice one now that Rotten Reunion's gone, but our graveyard is currently gone as well because of Rotten Reunion. Not going to Grafted Identity anybody, so let's play... Champion of the Perished Falcon Abomination is going to be 3 zombies. So I could attack with a 3/2 Organ Hoarder, and then I still have 6 zombies untapped to shoot them for 2. The alternative is if I attack with a Decayed Zombie and a Siege Zombie, then I hit them for another 2, because they can only block one of these 2, but I definitely don't want to attack with Angler and let them kill that here. So I'd rather just send an Organ Hoarder then, and hold up the ability to use Siege Zombie twice. Alright, Larder Zombie is surveilling. Setting up those draws. They are going to mill a second Larder Zombie, because the second is very redundant. Oh, speaking of, I passed up on a Larder Zombie early in this draft, because I'm like, well, the second is redundant, and then we did not get a first. So that actually, whatever I picked there did not work out, unless whatever I picked ended up being a really good card for this deck. But I don't remember. I think that's when I was still speculating on other colors, so I think I made a speculative pick over the Larder Zombie, which is not good. Did not end up playing out well. Alright, they finally flipped an Inherited Fiend, but again, it's tapped for now. And once it does untap, we can just steal it. That's the turn. Alright, let's get some damage in here. Shall we, friends? Put them down to 8. Then put them down to 7. They're going to Revenge the Drown the Champion, and I think that means they're just very dead on board. Because they're tapped out and they're at 7 life. Sure, I'll redraw the champion. They have 1 blocker. Block a 3-2, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, super dead. We're going to start this thing off 1-0 here. Winning the mirror match. Alright, well, the incredible starts do not stop. We have turn 1 Champion of the Perished again, and let's just go wild with it. We're going to go Zombie on turn 2, Zombie on turn 3. That's a 1-mana 3-3. Our opponent's on green here. Drop Siege Zombie and hit for 2. They're on green-white. The main mechanic in that color pair is Coven, which is all about having creatures with 3 different powers on the board. They've got a Stuffed Bear down. We'll drop a Hobbling Zombie and attack them for 5. Stuffed Bear, not a card I would super recommend. It just takes too much mana to get much work done with it. You have to spend 2 mana every turn you want to attack or block with it, and when you do, it is a 4-4, which is large, but the mana investment ends up being a lot. So 4 mana to use a 4-4 one time, 6 mana total to have used that 4-4 twice. I think I'm even going to let it hit me here. If they want to spend more mana into activating it, that's fine. Send in the squad. I should have played Organ Hoarder pre-combat for 1 more damage. Playing a little too fast there. And wow. Is it greedy to just take the land and just put these in grave? I think the land is so redundant that, yeah, it is a bit greedy. Let's actually take the Archivist and play the front half of that one, hopefully. Alright, so if I rolled out with the Organ Hoarder pre-combat, they'd be at 5 life right now. We'll see if that ends up mattering. Just going to activate the Stuffed Bear, hit me for another 4, put me down to 12. Might of the Old Ways, alright. Unfortunately, I think there were just not enough people playing Midnight Hunt right now, and our opponent just got paired very far up from Bronze to Mythics. That's a very bad time for our opponent. Definitely seems like they are at least newer to the format, probably newer to Draft in general as well. But I guess we will start off 2-0 then, as we head into Game 3. Here we are now for Game 3. We don't have our mega incredible 1-drop card anymore, so the hand is slow and terrible. We have a Bait Hook Angler on turn 2. That's all we got for now. Startle and Revenge the Drowned for interaction. Definitely hoping to draw into some other stuff, but it's got both our colors and we start things out on turn 2, so I'm going to keep it. Playing against blue-black again. This is kind of just a snapshot of Innistrad Midnight Hunt, the format. You can expect a lot of games to be blue-black mirror matches. Especially when you're playing blue-black. When you're playing red-green werewolves, it's kind of hard to end up in a blue-black mirror match, but who knows. This format does strange things. Sometimes you just wake up and, oh my god, I'm playing blue-black zombies again. Alright, Siege Zombie hits the board. Tempted to startle here to try to draw into something else. I still have a startle if I need to use it as a trick. Yeah, that seems fine. That drew us into a decent card. Yeah, and I've still got a startle left if I want to win combat with it. We're probably playing Siege Zombie this turn. Could hold up Flip the Switch still. Flip the Switch and double Revenge of the Drowned. No, if they resolve something, I'll just Revenge of the Drowned it. I'm going to play Siege Zombie and hold up Startle. I think I am going to startle in the end step again, just draw a card and get the second decayed zombie so that I can actually ping them with Siege Zombie here. And then it'll be really easy to just hold up my mana for Flip the Switch for the rest of time, because my whole hand is instant speed after resolving that Siege Zombie. Novice Occultist is the play. When it dies, they get to draw a card and lose a life. Good sacrifice fodder and a fine chump blocker. It's very good if they can find a block that's a trade with it, if they can trade that 1/2 into our 2/1, so that might actually incentivize us to just not play Startle right now. So we know they can't trade that off into Bait Hook Angler on blocks. Yeah, they're just gonna pass. Oh, drawn to Organ Hoarder. They don't have the mana up for a counterspell. The cheapest counterspell in this format is 3 mana. I can play it slow here. I got double revenge, flip the switch. Let's just play an Organ Hoarder rather than going for a startle attack. Grab a Falcon Abomination. More mana would be valuable, then I could play flip the switch and startle in one turn, but Falcon Abomination is the stone cold nuts, so I'm going to draw that instead. They might have their own startle here, their own 2 mana play. Are they just going to roll it out to get a Siege Zombie tap? No. Well, we'll want to try to keep that in the back of our heads, that they likely have a startle. Something for 2 mana. It could be a startle. It could be an Olivia's Midnight Ambush, which is 2 mana for -2/-2. -13, -13 at night, but I don't think anybody's going to start a day-night cycle at this rate. Somebody would have to play a flip card like a werewolf to do that. There's a few cards that just say on them, when this enters the battlefield, it becomes day. That don't flip, that just have an ability that triggers whenever day flips to night. But for the most part, it's just all the werewolves. The flip cards like those. That'll start the day-night cycle. There's very few of those in blue and black. There's that Menace Dork. 3 mana, 2/3, that's a 4/4 at night. Alright, we've got the 5 mana, so I can hold up, flip the switch, and play Startle. So I can get into combat here pretty aggressively. I can only startle one of their creatures, though, so if they block Siege Zombie with Siege Zombie and Bait Hook Angler with Novice Occultist, they are going to get to kill one of those. But I think it's still worth getting attacks in now with Startle and flip the switch up. Okay, I'm very okay. I'm actually reasonably okay with all of this, so I'm just going to go through and see if they try to startle. Geist Wave is going to be their play. I mean, I don't hate that. They do draw a card from doing it, and they replay a Siege Zombie as a blocker again. I flip the switch here, the only thing I have up is a startle. You know, I'm pretty okay with startle. Falcon Abomination. They're gonna draw a bunch of cards here, though. But they're down to 12. We can just start Revenge of the Drowning all their blockers. Which equates to a lot of damage. Speaking of equating to a lot of damage, we have 7 creatures on board with Siege Zombie out. It'll be really easy to ping them for 1 during their end step a few times. Diagraph Horde is 1 blocker, which means they're super dead, even if I didn't have Revenge of the Drowned. I could attack with everybody. They can block Organ Hoarder and take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So lethal without Revenge of the Drowned, but incredibly lethal with it. And this is the other part of just producing a bunch of decayed zombies is you find lethal really early if you just keep the decayed zombies around. You get to a point where your opponent could have one massive blocker, like the biggest blocker in the world, but it doesn't matter because you're going to attack them with 6, 7 creatures. So disgusting stuff from the blue-black deck here. We're going to be 3-0 now, I believe. Winning our second mirror match. Here we are now for game 4 on the play. We've got Siege Zombie into Falcon Abomination, which is excellent, because even if our opponent puts a blocker down that can block Siege Zombie, still ping them for 1 on turn 3. Because we'll have 3 creatures out, thanks to Falcon Abomination providing 2. Plenty of great backup cards here as well. Eaten Alive, Startle, Hobbling Zombie. 4th game, 3rd mirror match it is, maybe? Yep, blue-black again. They don't call it the best deck in format for nothing. If they don't block, I get 2 damage in instead of 1. If they do block, I startle. So we get 2 damage in instead of 1 and still play our Falcon Abomination. I'll take 1 from a bait hook angler here. Or take 2, sorry. They're going to play their own Falcon Abomination. Fair enough, we've got 4 mana up here. I can play a Hobbling Zombie and an Eaten Alive. I can hold up a Startle. I can play an Organ Hoarder post-combat. A lot of stuff to do. Send in the non-decayed squad. Okay, no blocks. Playing around Startle still, so we'll play Organ Hoarder. Grab a Revenge of the Drowned. 5th land lets me Eaten Alive without sacking something, which is fine, but I have enough stuff to sack something. I'm just going to take Revenge of the Drowned. Send in the squad. I mean, the race is on. All right, I'll take 4. Down to 14. So we're both at 14, but I get to attack first. Bat Whisperer really helps in the race, though. A 4/2 and a 1/1 flyer. And Startle does not play well against the Bat Whisperer. Revenge the Drowned, it goes back on top of their deck. They hit me again, recast it, get another bat. That feels pretty bad. I could Eaten Alive, sack the Decayed Zombie, and hold up Revenge of the Drowned. It's going to be pretty obvious, but I think it's probably worth it. Hit them for 7. And they're down to 7. We have Revenge of the Drowned to clear out a blocker and give us another attacker. Send in everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Far from lethal. I think I just take it. Clear out whatever they play to block with. Probably another Bat Whisperer. If they tap out for a Bat Whisperer, they are going to die. To a Revenge of the Drowned. Pass turn. That's sketchy. So, I mean, they're dead on board, so they have to have a removal spell and a counter spell for this Startle, or they have to have 2 removal spells. Actually, no, I guess they could just kill Organ Hoarder and go to 1 life. Not if they don't cast that removal right now. Oh, thank God they didn't cast it right then, because now I have a flip to switch up. Thank you, top deck. Thank you, Lords of Random Number Generation. What a draw. Flip the switch, the removal spell. I mean, I guess we wouldn't die on the crackback anyway. We would go to 2 and then probably kill them next turn still. I guess we might find out here. They might have a bounce spell as well. Or a startle of their own. Startle wouldn't do it. Startle, they'd still die. But a bounce spell on Organ Hoarder would let them survive. Like a Geist Wave. Alright, Geist Wave lets them survive, barely. But they do not have lethal on the crackback without another spell, and I have a startle to really make sure they don't have lethal on the crackback. And if they don't have removal for Siege Zombie, then even if they hold all their blockers up, we can just tap 3 creatures to deal 1 damage to them. Startle our 2/2 Decayed Zombie. Okay. Send in the team. Let's startle a Falcon Abomination. And they're going to scoop it up. That is going to be game. There's a chance that they had like an Arrogant Outlaw or something there, which when it enters the battlefield, if you damaged your opponent, makes them lose another 2 life and you gain 2 life. So that's why we play the startle to be super safe. There are like 2 damage burn spells to put me from 2 life to 0 if I let the damage in, but startling makes sure I survive against those. So we'll never know if they had one. Maybe they did. Or maybe this was just like, send a message, get all the damage I can in. Either way, that means we're 4-0 now. Not only that, we're 3-0 in the mirror match, which feels pretty excellent. Let's head into round 5 now, see how far we can take this. Here we are for game 5. Our hand's a little bit high on lands with 4 mana, but not too bad to take a mulligan. Maybe a 5-lander of just Siege Zombie Falcon Abomination is pretty close to a mulligan. But it's going to be real hard to convince me to mulligan a hand that has turn 2 Siege Zombie, turn 3 Falcon Abomination. So our opponent is on the play here. They're going to Evolving Wilds for, drumroll, Forest. This is not going to be another mirror match. We're playing against green-red. That is a werewolf deck, pretty self-explanatory. Play a bunch of beefy werewolves and beat down. We'll get our turn 2 Siege Zombie on the defensive. If it goes to nighttime, they're going to keep hitting me with a 3/3. That is going to be super hard to block. Oh, they're Jund, green, red, and black. Evolving Wilds to help splash colors in. We'll see what the turn 3 play is from our opponent. It's going to be an Olivia's Midnight Ambush. Get rid of the Siege Zombie immediately. Alright, as much as I'd love to hold up a Flip the Switch, let's drop Falcon Abomination so that the Liberator does not flip yet. Every single card we've drawn this game has been a land so far, so that's not what we want to see on a 4-land opener, but we'll see how it goes from here. I am tempted to trade here, because I don't have a lot of things that'll trade into a 3/3. I've got Organ Hoarders. If I can draw into those, that would be good. Got a Diagraph Ghoul that's a 3/4. I'm pretty desperate here on 4 lands. And a counterspell in hand. This is going to be a 3/3 unless I top deck a sorcery. Unless I just top deck a spell, pretty much. Anything that isn't a counterspell. I don't love this trade, but I think I take it here. Because that thing's all but guaranteed to be a 3/3. It's super hard to deal with. Well, that worked out pretty well for me. Because I can just crawl from the cellar my thing back. Is that better than holding up Flip the Switch right now? Yeah, probably. And just immediately trade it into the Harvesttide Sentry. Alright, 5 mana up. What do they got? Purifying Dragon. The card literally designed for this matchup. It can clear out my zombies really easily. It does 2 damage to a zombie every time it attacks. That is not good for me in the slightest. Overwhelmed Archivist is a very good draw for me, at least. I kind of want to crawl from the cellar so they can't kill this, but it's not that big of a deal if they kill a decayed zombie. I'm going to hold up flip the switch. That's probably more valuable, I think, than crawl from the cellar right now. Alright, so Purifying Dragon domes me for 4, kills my 2/2 decayed zombie. Go for a Shadow Beast sighting. They can just flash back later. I mean, that's bad. I will counter that. Gives me another 2/2 zombie for them to shoot with Purifying Dragon. Ooh! Or I can borrow the dragon. Yeah, I'll borrow that real quick. That seems more than good enough against my deck that I should probably steal it. Gonna poke for 3. I don't think I should have poked for 3, but I got antsy and I wanted to I wanted to get aggressive. The best play there is to just hold on to the 3/3. Again, because we have the stuff that wants us to tap 3 creatures for value. I'm going to draw a discard before I get into combat in case I hit a startle or something that I could play around something with. Hidden Eaten Alive, that's not going to play around anything, but that's fine. Attack for 5? Question mark? They're green, red, black, so they probably can't get their Purifying Dragon back. But they can definitely kill it. If they were blue, I would be very concerned that they could just bounce the dragon back to its owner's hand, which would be their hand. But against green, all I'm worried about is artifact enchantment removal, which they've already cast. The odds of them having more artifact enchantment removal, pretty low, after they've already dumped out a Liberator. Okay, so Bounding Wolf and Brimstone Vandal are the plays. Bounding Wolf during our end step, Brimstone Vandal now. One final card in their hand. They're reading the Grafted thing. They might have enchantment removal. I don't remember any 2-mana enchantment removal in this format, but that could very much just be because I don't main deck it. Could certainly exist. Like Return to Nature would be really strong in this format if it is in this format. That's destroy an artifact or enchantment or exile a card from a grave. I could see that being in this format. I think it is. It's got like a picture of a pumpkin on it. So they might have Return to Nature. Immolation is the play. Kill the Hobbling Zombie. Fair enough. Okay. Drawn to an island. They're dead in 3 attacks in the sky, which is great. Our Archivist turns into a flyer after it dies to speed up the clock. Hit them for 5, then hit them for 7 is lethal. And this comes back as a 2/1 flyer, so let's do that. See if we can't get this Archivist in our graveyard so we can get a 2/1 flyer and just kill them next turn by killing the Bounding Wolf. Because that's going to have reach, so we need to Eaten Alive that next turn. But then we can attack for lethal. I'm going to hold on to the island to discard to the Haunt. Final turn for our opponent. What have they top decked? Maybe nothing? Maybe nothing? Let's see. Try to exile the reach creature. Where do we go from there? They have Defenestrate, destroy a creature without flying so it can't kill either of our flyers. And that is a super rough time for our opponent. That's going to be exact lethal. And we'll be 5-0 now in the money as we head into round 6. Here we are for game 6 now on the play. Super reasonable hand. We have both colors, 3 2-drops and a 3-drop. Probably want to discard the Angler to the Archivist for value. Ooh, I could play a Blade Stitch Scab turn 2. We've got a Silver Bolt though, so they're just going to shoot our early cards, our early threats. Yeah, I mean, both of these are likely to get killed. Let's just play Siege Zombie for now. They both hit just as hard. They're both 2 power. I guess the Scab attacks better against 2/2s. Mirror match. Round number 3. Round number 4. Actually. Or 5. 2 non-mirror matches. This is round 6. So yeah, this is the 4th mirror match. Okay. If I had another black source, I'd love to just go Champion Scab, but I don't, so let's just go Archivist. Discard the Angler. Ooh, draw Falcon Abomination. That's really good with Champion of the Perished and Blade Stitch Scab. That's definitely how to pronounce that. Blade Scab. Okay. Yeah, those are both incredible cards, but let's just get to combat first and see if we can get them to throw a Silver Bolt at the Archivist. They might just startle here, take 3. Okay, no Silver Bolt yet. Alright, I'll probably get the Champion killed here, but I'm going to go Champion Scab Wrangler, I think. Flip the switch, okay. It's fine by me. Play a Scab Wrangler. Use the main phase, Silver Bolt the Archivist now. Play an island, hit for 2. You got it. Crawl from the Cellar is the draw. That's beautiful if we had more black sources, but we're doing A-okay here. We can just Falcon Abomination into Blade Stitch Scab next turn. God, my tongue is fat and dumb today. I cannot say words. Blade Stitch Scab. Alright, opponent is over it. That is going to be our 4th mirror match victory. Yes, best blue-black deck at the table. Let's go. We are 6-0 now, which means that the next round could be the final round. If we can get another victory, it's going to be a 7-win run. 7-0 undefeated today, potentially. So start playing some final boss music because we are 6-0 heading into round 7. Alright, here we are for round 7. We're on the play, and this is a risky keep. There is nothing to do on turn 2, and we don't have a turn 3 play unless I hit a land. If I do hit a land, we have Archivist to set up our draws a little bit, but I think I take the mulligan here. And this hand is even slower with nothing till turn 4. Looks like our luck is catching up to us, and Magic Arena has finally said no to a 7-win undefeated run today. We're going to be starting very far behind, either by keeping a really slow hand like this, or by starting with a 5-card hand. Neither of those is a particularly good way to start the game. I'll keep the 6 here. Bat Whisper looking really bad in this hand because we don't have a way to guarantee damage in when we try to get that enter the battlefield effect. So we'll keep the Organ Hoarder over it, make sure we've got the mana to make it up to 5, and our opponent gets to roll out turn 1. Gonna be polar opposites here. If they play a 2-drop, then we're just gonna get curved out with some glacially slow openers. Playing against white-black, so it's not gonna be the mirror match, so at least if I lose this game, we can still be undefeated in the mirror match. Exclusively drawn lands so far, which is good to make it to Diregraph Horde, but it does mean that we are still going to do absolutely nothing till turn 4. Playing against black, white, red. Static Awakener to sack the Lunarch Veteran is an incredible combo. One of the linchpins, one of the key pieces for the black-white sacrifice strategy, having those expendable Lunarch Veteran style cards with the Ecstatic Awakeners. And that means they cast no spells that turn, which means I didn't get to flip the switch, which means I cast 0 spells all game until turn 4, which is a death sentence in many modern limited formats. Hopefully we can buck that trend today, though. Kind of think we need an Eaten Alive to get rid of this 4/4. It's just gonna devour me. A single 4/4 is bigger than my stuff. I guess I could Hobbling Zombie to kill it too. Yeah, Hobbling Zombie actually feels like the best play. Champion of the Parish is strong with a Diagraph Horde afterward, but then that means turn 5 I play a Champion of the Parish to hold up a Flip the Switch. Which is fine, but I'm going to keep taking 4 for a long time if I do that. I feel like Hobbling Zombie is actually pretty great here because we could curve out 5 mana Diagraph Horde, 6 mana I can go Zombie plus Flip the Switch, and make the use of all of my mana turn 5 and turn 6. It's going to cost me a lot of life to do that, though. I'm going to go down to 7 doing that. But Diagraph Horde can probably block whatever they play this turn. Never mind. Gavany Trapper can tap down the Diagraph Horde. Search Party Captain to draw another card. Alright. Here's the Diagraph Horde. We get to exile the Lunarch Veteran, which is pretty good value. Stop them from recurring that. Tap the Diagraph Horde. Take 4 again, we're down to 7. They've still got 6 cards in their hand. Oh my god, and none of their cards in hand are lands? Yeah, we're not getting anywhere this game. That's another 4/4 with that Ecstatic Awakener. Because they've got a Lunarch Veteran to go with that one too to tap. So we get on to 3 here. Yeah, and they can just keep tapping our Death Toucher. I can play 2 blockers this turn, which is something. Still got my draw a card, discard a card creature in here, so I'll hold on to the island. Our opponent has hit their 5th land. And it's a Diagraph Horde of their own. Which puts them to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attacking creatures next turn against my 4 blockers. Puts us very, very dead next turn. I mean, that's still 7 attackers against 5 blockers, which is still dead. Because if I let the smallest 2 creatures through, that's a 1/1 and a 2/2. Oh wait, no. I miscounted. It's 6 against 5. That's very barely alive. Oh no, Gavany Trapper counts too. So yeah, it is. It is how I mathed it out. On board, we take exactly 3 and die. Because we have to block this Awakener, because if we don't, they turn it into a 4/4. By sacking something that we blocked. So we have to go block 1, 2, 3... Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. With our 4 blockers, because they're going to tap one of them. So that's a block here, a block here, a block here. And a block here, and that's 1, 2, 3 damage dead. We are dead on board. Maybe they won't see it, but if they don't see it, I think it's more likely that they have another way to make us die this turn than that they just like pass the turn. I think if they don't see it, that probably just means they're going to spend a removal spell. Yeah, so... Alright, go from dead on board to extra dead on board. And now the match should be really easy for our opponent. Yeah, why not? Alright. Well, Really bad openers that game. Pretty much all there is to it. We knew from square one we were starting very far behind with two really, really slow hands. Only thing I think I really could have done there was maybe take a mulligan to 5, but that is also a death sentence for different reasons. Just very far down on card advantage. It's pretty easy for our opponent to get a few trades in there and have a bunch of extra cards after we run out of stuff to do. So, just did not have the hands that could get us there that game. 6-1 as we head into round 8. Alright, here we are for round 8. Our opponent's on the play, but our hand is beautiful. Scab Wrangler into 2 Falcon Abominations into a Grafted Identity if we can find another blue source. This hand looks nasty. Very excited about this one. Our opponent's on that turn 1 Lunarch Veteran game plan. Probably gonna drop the Siege Zombie first now so I can block their 1-1. The Scab Wrangler can't do that, it's only 1 toughness. Mono white so far with a Gavany Trapper as the next card. We got the ghosts of gameplay past here. Some of the little white dorks from our opponents' deck last game. What happens if I poke Fibblethip? Oh, he just cycles animations for or something. He pulled out the map when I poked him. It's not doing anything now. Yeah, I guess Fibblethip just pulls out the map if you poke them. Alright, well, they're just going to Gavany Trapper the Siege Zombie, probably. I guess I'll play a Falcon Abomination. Just right now. So if they don't tap the Siege Zombie immediately, I can still poke them for 1. Alright, they do tap it immediately. Fair enough. They are black-white. I don't think this is our last round opponent. I didn't pay a massive amount of attention. I think this is a different player, but same archetype. Yeah, there's the Ecstatic Awakener. Alright. I guess I can steal that after they flip it with Grafted Identity, and for now, just poke them with the stuff we've got. Falcon Abomination this turn. They want to double block a Siege Zombie? That'd be fine. I could just cast a Crawl from the Cellar if they do. Okay, they do not. So we'll Falcon Abomination and not Crawl from the Cellar. They're tapping down a blocker here. Post-combat to get in with the Awakener. Aggressive, alright. I like it. I'm pretty happy to see our opponent getting aggressive here. With a hand like this, I think we can outrace them very well. So if they let us get extra damage in early in the game, in order to trade some damage into our face, I think that'll play out well for us. Send in the whole board. What is going on here? Oh, they just have Vanquish the Horde. Just blow everybody up. Destroy all creatures. Well, that is tapped out of the double white for Vanquish the Horde. Okay, I have no idea what's going on here. Oh, Search Party Captain, I see. I see. Alright, still loving my position. Send in the team. Do I cash these out right now? I don't think I cash those out right now. I can Crawl from the Cellar and play the Zombie and a Wrangler. And these are valuable for both of those. Alright, I love the trade. Get some great Crawl from the Cellar value. Buffing up one of our flyers even. Okay, if they don't have the board wipe, I think we've got this locked up. Yeah, they're just going to scoop them up, and we are going to be 7-1 now today. Beautiful deck here. I think it could have maybe even went undefeated, but Fair enough. Luck's got to catch up with us a little bit because we were overall very, very lucky today. Even if we do draw some super slow hands in our one loss, we overall drew incredibly well. And yeah, very happy with the deck that I drafted. I think this deck was sweet. Blue-black is the strongest archetype in the format. We've got a lot of the powerhouses in the archetype, the great value Organ Hoarders, the Blade Stitch Scab, along with some of the cards that it's the strongest with, cards like Falcon Abomination that are creating multiple bodies off one card, all of which are zombies, cards like Diregraph Horde with the Blade Stitch Scab, and similarly, everything that's good with Blade Stitch Scab is also good with our Champion of the Parish that we scooped up. That was explosive in some games as well, and probably the bombiest card we have is actually the Grafted Identity. Mind Control's always absolutely disgusting and limited. I think we only got to actually cast it one time. It was against that dragon, but it very much won us that game. We were in a really rough position until I top decked this, and when we hit this card, it immediately was like, oh my god. Take a huge, calm, relaxing breath, because now we're not scared of the dragon just eviscerating all of our zombies. Now we can just try to eviscerate our opponent's face with their dragon, so Grafted Identity was, I think, the MVP strongest card in the deck, but in terms of how often we actually drew our cards and played those cards, it only happened in one game, so what was the actual MVP? What showed up the most? What was really helping us win, like, all these games? I mean, Champion of the Parish showed up a lot. I think Falcon Abomination, though, showed up in pretty much every single game, and it was always excellent as well, so maybe we'd give Falcon Abomination MVP status, but overall, everything in the deck really shined today, which is nice. Always awesome to get to play everything in your deck and really show off each individual card's power in their own scenarios. Yeah, we got some great Startle plays, some great Crawl from the Cellar plays, Eaten Alive, Revenge of the Drowned, literally everything in the deck, except I think Bat Whisperer. I don't think I ever got to cast that. I think I molded it to the bottom once, and I think I discarded it to something one time. I don't think I ever cast Bat Whisperer, so everything else, though, beautiful. Beautiful stuff. Great work from the Blue-Black Zombies deck. Really good luck today. Pull off a 7-1 run, and we get to leave this event with the full prizes, 2,200 gems, and 6 packs of Innistrad Midnight Hunt. But that's going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons very much for supporting the channel, as well as you for watching these videos. If you're interested in seeing more like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you more of these videos in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below, and if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. Other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.